Welcome to the Treasurer's Training Part 3. In this training, you will learn how to prepare the deposit and how to record income and expenses in the Excel checkbook ledger. Activity 6, Preparing the Deposit. Here are the guidelines for making a deposit. Make sure you never mix 4-H money with personal money. Keep the money in the pending file or clear sheet protector in the Treasurer book and in a locked cabinet until you make the deposit. Make the deposit within 1 week of receiving the money, and your deposit must match the itemized income form. Exercise 1, completing the itemized income form for deposit. Today is October 14th, and you will be preparing the deposit for the check you received from Mary Farmer and the cash you received from Larry Fields from the club meeting. Deposit means putting money into the club's checking account. Although you're preparing the deposit on October 14th, you will not actually take the deposit to the bank until tomorrow, which is October 15th. For this activity, you will be recording on the itemized income form found on the right side of Worksheet 1. You will also need to look at Mary Farmer's check and Larry Fields' cash receipt found on page 9. I have put them on the screen for you. The itemized income form is used to record multiple sources of income related to one deposit. The income may come to you as cash or check. This form must always match the deposit. I'm going to put the Excel document up on the screen and show you how the document works, and you can follow along and fill in the itemized income form with me. On the screen, you will see a copy of the Excel itemized income form. So as I fill this form in for you, I want you to handwrite in. So the first thing we're going to do is write the date of deposit. And we know that the deposit is going in on October 15th, 2000, whatever the year is. So let's go down to the date for when we received this. Remember, we were at the club meeting. So the first thing you received was on 10/7 at the club meeting, and it was received from Mary Farmer. And it was bowling money for Mary, Danny, Joe, and Ann. It was the amount of $24, and it came in the form of a check, which was number 3294. The next thing that came in was at the same meeting, and remember that was from Larry Fields, so it came from Larry Fields. And that was bowling money for Larry, Carl, and Betsy. And that was $18. We didn't get a check for that. We got cash, and we wrote out a receipt, and that was receipt number 1200. When you hit tab and scroll to the bottom, you can see that it added for you. So the great thing about this document is that when you put the numbers in, it'll automatically calculate, and then it really does eliminate many errors. Now let's go back to the document. So this is what the completed itemized income form looks like. So please make sure that you take the time to fill yours in, and it looks just like mine. Look to the right where it says filing the itemized income form in the Treasurer binder. You want to make sure you run a copy of this form for your records and one for the bank, so you'll need 2 copies. Attach all cash receipts that are recorded on this form, so that would be the cash receipt for Larry Fields. Attach a copy of the deposit receipt given from the bank after the deposit was made. Enter the deposit in the monthly Excel checkbook ledger, which we will teach you next, and file it behind the correct monthly tab in the Treasurer binder in which the deposit was made. So this would go behind the October tab. Once you do all these steps, you need to check off the bottom of the form on the left-hand side, which we'll show you in just a little bit. So let's look at page 12 in your workbook. This is exercise 2, preparing the deposit ticket. So look at the itemized income form worksheet number 1. This will help you to fill in the deposit ticket. So the first thing you'll want to do is put in the date on the deposit ticket, which is 10/15. Put the total that you see on the itemized income form where it says total deposit. Attach the deposit slip to the itemized income form. By attaching the detailed itemized income form to the deposit slip, you won't have to duplicate your work and rewrite it on the deposit ticket. Many banks will accept this process. When you drop off the first deposit, ask the bank if it's okay if this form accompanies the deposit ticket instead of you filling in the deposit ticket. If it's okay, you'll need to write the amount of cash under. If it isn't okay, you will need to write the amount of cash under cash on the deposit ticket and list the checks on the back of the ticket and put the total on the front. You will want to make sure you endorse the back of Mary Farmer's check. You can use a stamp with deposit only or write the club name followed by your name. Again, when you deposit the money at the bank, always ask for a deposit receipt. This receipt must match the amount deposited. So this is what your deposit ticket should look like. Again, if they won't take the itemized income form, you would write the cash of $18 up here on top. And then you would list the check here that you have from Mary Farmer and put the $24 right here and subtotal it together to get $42 and then bring the total down, $42. Activity 7, recording deposits and expenses in the Excel checkbook ledger. This is found on page 12 in your workbook. Again, you'll need worksheet number 1. The Excel checkbook ledger is shown on the left side of the screen. It's on the left side of your worksheet. The following scenario will be used when filling in the Excel checkbook ledger. Today's date is October 15th, and today you made the deposit in the bank, and now you're going to complete your record keeping. You will need to record the check you wrote out to Kenmore Office Supply, as well as the deposit into the October Excel checkbook ledger. So exercise 1 is recording expenses in the Excel checkbook ledger. And again, when we write in the Excel checkbook ledger, you'll need to record the check that you wrote, and you'll also need to use the itemized income form to record the deposit. So now I am going to use the actual document, the Excel checkbook ledger, and you can go ahead and follow along with me. On the screen, you'll see a copy of the actual October Excel checkbook ledger. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to record the check that you wrote out to Kenmore Office Supply. So to the far left, we're going to write the date, and that was 10/10 that you did that. The next column says check number. Your check number was 103. In this column, it says if it's a deposit, write deposit, but if it's an expense, write who it's payable to, and it was to Kenmore Office Supply. And under starting balance, if you look way up on top, it says if it's income, you're supposed to write see attached itemized income form. If it's an expense, write detailed description of the expense. And this was for treasurer supplies. The yellow box is to record expenses. The green box is to record income. So this is a check for $23.27, which is an expense. When you hit the tab, you can see where it says checkbook balance that it automatically subtracted the $23.27 out of our total amount. So let's go back over and let's put the deposit in. Remember, the deposit was created on 10/15, and there is no check number, so we skip that. And here it says that we should just write the word deposit. And here we need to write see attached itemized income form. Now this tells us, and it also tells the person doing the review, that there is a deposit here, and they might want to know, well, was there cash in it or how many checks were written? They can look at the itemized income form, and that is a record of all the cash that went into this deposit. Now remember, this is an income, so it goes into the green column, and the amount of the income that went in was $42. And again, we're going to tab it over so you can see that it added that to it. Now this document is just like a paper checkbook ledger that you would handwrite in, and some people actually handwrite into the Excel document, but can you see the purpose for downloading this onto your computer and just typing the numbers in? If we scroll down, you'll notice that the total comes to the bottom. And here's this neat little box. Every month you'll see the starting checkbook balance for that month. All the income that came in is in green. All the expenses that went out is in yellow. And then the current checkbook balance is down in the bottom in the gray. And this is just a great summary. And what you'll notice is when you tab over, down at the bottom, there's the tab for every single month. So let's say now it's November and I click into November. You can see that that total transferred right up to the top, and then I can start putting my income and expenses in. But I might have a month where I don't have any income and expenses. Well, that's okay. If I don't have any in November, I'll simply run this off and I will put this behind my November tab. And then I'll go to December and there's that starting balance again. And it totals all the way down. And then the numbers transfer from month to month. What I truly love about this Excel document is, again, down at the bottom are all the months for every month, October through September, but there's also Form B, the 4-H financial summary, and Form C, the club proposed budget. These are the financial sheets that you need to fill in at the end of the year. And as you're inputting every month your income and expenses, you can see that it's totaling here. So this is what we put in October, our beginning balance, our income and our expenses, and our ending balance. Now I manually typed in savings because I got that off of a bank statement that I'll show you shortly. And then again, the checking and savings totals together to give us the exact amount of money we have in our accounts. Remember that $1,237.17? When I go to Club Proposed Budget down at the bottom, that's our starting balance right here for our club proposed budget. If you use the Excel checkbook ledger, the chartering documents at the end of the year will be so much easier. So let's take a look again at the October Excel checkbook ledger. And I want to make sure that your ledger looks like mine. So go ahead and make sure that you fill it in. If you haven't done that yet, pause the video, and when you complete it, hit resume and let's keep going. Exercise 3, filing the paperwork on page 15. Filing the paperwork and keeping organized is one of the main tasks that you need to do as a treasurer. So at the end of each month, you need to complete the following task. The first thing you'll want to do is run a copy of the completed monthly Excel checkbook ledger. 3-hole punch it, and you're going to want to put it in your binder. Staple all the receipts that match all the checks written, and write any checks that are voided. Now there might be a time where you write a check and you actually make a mistake on it. Well, that's okay. You still want to enter that check in the Excel checkbook ledger, but you don't want to put the amount in the yellow expense column because it will subtract it out. In the middle where the detail is, just tell us who the check was written to and what the amount was, and then write void. Then write void across the check and staple it to the form because we need to have all checks accountable for. Then there should be an itemized income form for every deposit that was listed on the Excel checkbook ledger. So this month we have 1 deposit. So you'll want to run a copy of that itemized income form and put that behind the Excel checkbook ledger in your tab, behind the October tab as well. Make sure that all cash receipts and deposit receipts from the bank are attached to this document. The final step is for the youth treasurer, adult advisor, and the adult verifier to review and sign off on the document. Now the adult advisor and adult verifier are going through the book to make sure that all the income is correct, all the expenses are correct, and that the books are actually being reconciled, which we're going to talk about next. Once all 3 members feel that all the work is accurate, they sign off saying, yes, indeed, the work is correct to my knowledge. This completes the Treasurer Training Part 3. Now go to Part 4 where you will learn how to reconcile your bank statement to your checking account.